My husband said, "My mom likes our new house. Starting today, we're living with my parents. If you don't like living with us, then you can move out," Mill said. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm Stella, 27 years old. I'm a housewife and currently pregnant. Nathan, my husband, is 30. He's a company employee. Because of my pregnancy, we decided to build a new house on FIL's property. Since babies cry at night and our apartment is too cramped, we wanted a more spacious place to raise our child. Now, building a new house means meeting with the architect, and I was thrilled. I imagined a kitchen in my favorite color. I dreamed of a nice bathtub. Everyone gets excited about a space designed for them. A new house and a baby. I felt like, is it okay to have this much happiness? But something didn't feel quite right. Mill started attending every meeting with the architect. Why is Mill coming to these meetings? I asked Nathan. Then he replied, well, she remodeled her house 3 years ago, so it's best to have her wisdom. At one of the meetings, Mill said, we can't have a house without a traditional room. We need a large space for the home altar and carpet area for decorations. What? That big home altar? It's mean the huge traditional altar from Mill's house. Space for that, and before that, a traditional room. When I said, because maintaining carpet is troublesome, I want to convert everything to Western-style rooms, Mill shot back, if there's no traditional room, it's not a house. Why is Mill deciding everything when she's not even going to live here? When I asked Nathan, he said she's got experience. Plus, I've never gone wrong listening to my mom. But when are you going to get rid of the home altar? Since we're living separately, maybe after your parents have passed away. You could consider replacing it with a smaller one, right? Space in the house is precious, isn't it? Nathan got angry and yelled, "Are you insulting my mom? Who do you think you are?" Not wanting to create space for a home altar and carpet area that might be needed at any time, I decided to negotiate with my mill again at the next meeting. Creating space for a home altar is just a waste, I said. Mill snapped back, you only think that because you're young. When you're 80, you'll want carpet and you will feel more comfortable at home. Trust me, I'm that age. Oh, and we need to make everything accessible. Add handrails to the stairs. In the end, the house was built according to Mill's wishes. Traditional room, accessibility, handrails on the stairs, and a space for a huge home altar, and carpet for decorations. I tried to change the plans until the last minute, but Nathan kept repeating, "Mom knows best, don't talk bad about her." So cut it worth considering. And, since we were building on FIL's property, I didn't have much say. No land cost means lower loan payments. But adding all of Mill's ideas meant higher construction costs. The thought of paying extra to install a carpet area was frustrating beyond words. Even the architect suggested ways to reduce costs by removing unnecessary elements, but Mill said, spend money with a happy heart, and it will come back to you. Well, the new house is complete. Despite everything, the sight of a finished home made me happy, and the smell of the new wallpaper thrilled me. A new house really has a great scent. A few days after moving in, Mill and Phil came by with a housewarming gift. "Thanks to you, we have this lovely new home," I greeted them. It's true. If we'd bought the land, we likely wouldn't have qualified for a big enough loan. Phil smiled, saying, "The scent of a new house is always pleasant, and now we're ready to welcome the baby." I couldn't be happier as a grandpa, imagining his yet unseen grandchild. Nathan proudly gave them a tour of the new house, showing off the traditional room with its home altar and carpet. All that was left was to wait for the baby to arrive, but something unexpected happened. On Sunday, while having breakfast, a moving truck arrived. They rang the doorbell, saying, "Moving delivery," but I had no idea what was going on. I went to the door, asking, "Did you get the address wrong?" But our address was clearly written as the delivery destination. What? When I confused, a bicycle bell ringing and coming. Mill rode up, parked her bike in front of the house, and began directing the movers, pointing at the truck's contents and saying, "Put that there." What is going on? I was at a loss for words at this sudden scene. Then, Nathan, who had overheard the commotion, came out of the entrance wearing sandals and scratching his head, and said, "Mom likes the traditional room, so my parents are moving in." What? Suddenly, our house was filled with moving boxes, and I was told we'd be living together. What is going on? Then Mill grabbed my shoulder, saying, "Why are you just standing there? You're in the way." I wasn't just standing. I was in shock. If I'd been myself, I might have snapped back, but I was overwhelmed by all the new information. Mill noticed my pale face. I had been thinking about moving in together since we were in the middle of our meeting. At first, I was going to give advice, but it was getting closer and closer to my ideal. I thought it would be great if we could actually live here, so we decided to move in together. But what? That glance. Are you unhappy? If you don't want to live with me, why don't you leave? This land belongs to my husband. It's our house. In a Japanese-style room, I was thinking of putting a baby's crib and cradle, and in the alcove space, I was thinking of putting some baby items. The home altar room and alcove were supposed to be the baby's room. But the room will be occupied by my in-laws, and I'm being kicked out. Unable to handle this, I stepped outside. I need to clear my head. Even though it was spring, the air was chilly. The temperature was just right to cool down my flushed cheeks and my heated head. As my head cooled, it began to move. And then, I arrived at one question. Wait, then, what about their fully remodeled home from 3 years ago? I headed toward their house. When I arrived, Phil stood at the door. "Phil." He turned and saying briefly, "Let's go back to your house." Returning with Phil to our new house, I saw the moving was nearly finished, and the movers had left. "What? You came back? Are you agreeing to live together, or are you ready to be kicked out?" In the living room, Mill smirked at me as she sipped tea with Nathan. "If you're leaving, pack your own bags." My Phil stood up in front of my Mill, who was saying such things as if they were perfectly natural. "Hey, you. We're going home. If you don't like it, then leave both this house and mine." "What?" Mill dropped her teacup, spilling red tea on the table. "But why? I thought we were both moving here." Nathan agreed, "Didn't you?" she said, looking at Nathan. Nathan nodded quickly. "Yay, because Mom wanted to." And Nathan, as if it were the most obvious thing to say, just blurted it out. Upon hearing this, my Phil was furious. "How long are you going to blindly follow your mother? You're 30 now, be mentally grow up." It was the first time I had seen my usually mild-mannered Phil raise his voice in anger. Nathan flinched at his father's loud voice. "You had changed," Phil muttered hoarsely. Where did he get the idea that if you feel good about spending your money, you'll get it back? My Phil confronted my Mill. "What?" I was shocked to hear the phrase I'd heard before. "I know that one, too." When I said this, my Phil nodded and said, "I knew it," and told me what had happened in the past. She used to playfully fold bills to make them look like $1,000,000 notes, but then she started believing that spending freely would bring money back. She even bought $5K worth of lottery tickets and put them all in a donation box at a church, saying it'd double her luck. What? $5K in a donation box? Before I could react further, Mill shrieked, "It's true. Because the internet said so." "The internet?" I shouted, even louder than Mill. "Is there any basis for the information on the internet, where anything goes, whether true or false?" I said, trying to piece together my words. How could she rely on an online claim that lottery tickets in a donation box would double the return? Mill was dead serious. "Yes, look up ways to save money or money-saving charms. It comes up. Go ahead," she said, thrusting her phone at me. I couldn't hold back. "Searching for charms. Hahaga." "What are you laughing at?" "Because, hahaga." No, seriously, how could I not laugh? I couldn't stop laughing, even as Mill screeched like a red-faced monkey. Phil slumped beside me. "See, I would laugh it off if she weren't my wife." Seeing my Phil like that, I couldn't help but feel sorry and stopped laughing. If my money was used like that, it'd crush me too. He continued, "That's why I wanted to help you guys while I still had savings. I feared she'd tap into my end next." He glanced at Mill. "I didn't want you to fall victim to her misguided thinking. It's for the grandchild's sake, too." But Nathan interrupted. "What is this? Dad, you're bad-mouthing Mom now too." He moved in front of Mill, confronting Phil. I was infuriated by this scene. What was this attitude from my husband? I couldn't tolerate them anymore. I decided to stand up for Phil. As a retaliation for Nathan standing up to my Mill, I stood up to my Phil. And I leaned in close to Nathan. Mill's the internet is right mindset and your mom is always right mentality are the same. Both of you are adults who can tell fact from fiction. Phil had endured Mill's wastefulness for a long time, and I was the first to take his side. Thank you, Stella, he whispered. I thought building a house on Mile End would at least help you, but my savings are nearly drained because of my wife. Now, she wants to move in with Nathan, saying money attracts more money. At this point, their thought process seemed bizarre beyond the truth or falsehood of internet information. It was irrational, like a hermit crab moving from shell to shell. But Mill and Nathan both shouted, "Of course you go where the money is. If Mom wants to live with us, she should. That's why we made the traditional room and altar. Mother is right," and so on. The internet is always right, the two of them shouted loudly. I glanced at Phil, and he looked back, and we both saw how ridiculous they were. Years ago, if we in the begging of a dating, I would have said, "Fine, just keep saying bye forever," and left. But now I knew Phil's feelings, and I couldn't walk away. A sense of indignation bubbled up within me, feeling that I had to make these two shut up for my Phil's sake. After all, he's going to be the grandfather of my future child. "First, Mill, you're wrong," I told her bluntly. "Because it's on the internet. Then why don't you search for Lucky Charms crap or something? Seriously, no, I don't deny good luck, but if you want to make more money, it would be much more practical for you to go to work than to scatter lottery tickets at a shrine, though. At least, if you had spent the time you wasted dilly-dallying in meetings about your new house to work part-time, you would have thousands of dollars by now, wouldn't you? And then you realize, what kind of effort does it take to get those thousands of dollars? How hard Phil worked to earn the amount of lottery tickets you threw at the shrine." I went on a tirade against my Mill up to that point, and then turned my verbal blade towards my husband. "And you? Blindly trusting Mill and ignoring that she's leeching off you makes me doubt you'll guide our child well. In short, I'm divorcing you." "What?" His voice faltered, clearly not expecting the conversation to escalate to divorce. Contrary to my husband's reaction, my Mill came at me aggressively, spitting out threats like, "Oh well, fine. Get out, DIL." However, it was my Phil who suddenly blew away my Mill's tough demeanor. "And you, I'm divorcing you too," my Phil stated firmly. "What?" Mill spun to face Phil, but he stood firm. "I never planned to live with my son and his family. Our house is newly renovated, and I'm staying there. I have no energy left to support you. Go marry the internet, and that land is still in my name, so Nathan can leave. You can live how you want with your mother. That house is for Stella and the baby. The baby deserves a stable upbringing." New. Thus, we both divorced. 6 months later, after a legal process, I stayed in my house and Phil in his, while Nathan and Mill were kicked out. I told Nathan, who kept saying, "Mill is always right, then live with Mill." "Yeah, I'll do that," he replied, and they moved into an apartment together. Later, Nathan came to see Phil. "Even if I do as Mom says, my money won't increase. Can you lend me some money?" But he turned him away. Phil, now retired and working part-time, still enjoys his job. He's also involved in a chess club for fun. "Now that she's gone, I can save again," he told me, occasionally bringing toys and visiting his grandchild, delighted. When the baby started to laugh and toddle towards Phil, he confided in me, "I've started seeing someone." He blushed, revealing that she was from his chess club. She has a sharp sense for strategy. Apparently, she analyzed me thoroughly and chose me. "That's great," I said, and we both grinned widely.